Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us again to Healing Generations. And this is the podcast that's sponsored by the National Comadres Network. Comadre, how are you doing?
Okay, I'm continuing to go with the flow and continuing to stay filled with gratitude.
Beautiful. And if you're joining us for the first time, my name is Deborah Luis Camarillo, proud daughter of Esteban Leos Camarillo, and I'm here with my comadre, Maestras Susie Armijo, and together we do this podcast. But we had an opportunity to replay one of those podcasts that we really enjoyed. And so we want to just share with you a podcast and replay Dr. Leticia Ximénez's podcast. But we have really specific and special reasons why we want to replay that podcast for you. And in sharing that, comadre, do you want to share with our listeners why we're choosing this one?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know, Dr. Ximénez, I feel so honored that we were able to record with her and hear her miraculous story and recovery. I continue to listen to it still and even more these days as I'm trying to also, start again, not over. Picking up where I left off, and her words just continue to speak to every cell in my body as I hear her, and it just gives me so much hope and inspiration for my own healing. So I'm just hoping that same medicine will be shared with all of you that might be in that same situation, feeling hopeless or feel helpless or not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. It's been such a powerful medicine for me to hear her words again and give me that hope to not give up, but just keep going with my journey as well. So hopefully it'll help you. You'll hear something in there that'll give you that medicina that you need to just hang on and keep on going.
So with that, join us in hearing Dr. Leticia Ximénez. Comadre, we are excited because we have a guest with us today, and I'm so grateful. I have had the pleasure to work with her and know her, and her story is amazing. She's an amazing mujer. And so without any further ado, let's bring her on.
Oh, it's such an honor. I'm so excited, excited. We are so blessed to have with us today Dr. Leticia Ximénez. She is an international keynote speaker who has been featured in English and Spanish-speaking radio and television shows. She is the proud founder of Start Again, Not Over, where she offers her distinct expertise to help people move forward through the challenges of life's difficult transitions to get them where they want to be. Dr. Ximénez is dedicated to moving forward, building lives, and teaching people the benefit and power of starting again, not over. As an empowerment coach, author, speaker, trainer, and consultant with a doctorate in clinical psychology and years of experience and expertise, Dr. Ximénez encourages people to achieve happiness by resurrecting and empowering their true, authentic selves and thereby live the life that they want to live. What an honor.
Yes.
Dr. Ximénez, wow, feeling so blessed and just so excited to hear your story, to hear your journey. And, I really want to acknowledge you for the work that you do. So needed. Yes. And it's just, I feel the fact that you had the courage to want to help people to start again. All the challenges that we face, especially as mujeres. Sometimes we get in these situations where we're like, we just can't go on anymore. But really excited to hear your story today and get that inspiration. And I'm sure the mujeres are going to benefit on how just to do that. So, gracias. Maybe you can start by sharing a little bit about yourself, your familia background, and maybe even a little bit about the work you're connected to at this time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am just so grateful and so blessed. I feel so amazing and very, very excited to be here with you, just amazing mujeres, with all of you wonderful people. Yes, I have had the privilege and honor and just great gratitude to have worked with Maestra Deborah and her team and just the Latino Commission up north and Northern California. Is just so amazing. The conferences, we're really looking forward to the next one next year. So really, really happy to be part of it. And, you gave me the first my first opportunity. I did my first keynote speaking engagement at your conference, and for that I am just eternally grateful. And so I'm just so very happy to be here. Where I started, where I'm from, I just love to speak to people. I think that as I do, and I just allow the Creator, this to just flow through me. And I find that that is when we are most in alignment with who we really are. And it's just such an honor and a privilege to be able to do this with you, amazing, wonderful, beautiful women here today. And really looking forward to all the women that will listen to this. And hopefully it will be beneficial to you all. I actually was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. And soy de Guadalajara. Soy bilingüe. Hablo 3 idiomas, pero my Spanish is, that is something that I have kept, and I am just so happy that I have. And when I was born in Mexico, we were extremely poor. We were very, very poor. And in fact, when I was a baby, actually, my dad wasn't around, and my mom had to wash clothes for other people. And they wouldn't give her a job cleaning houses or anything like that because I was a newborn. And so the only thing that she could do at the time was to wash other people's clothes in order to survive. And there were many times that she wasn't able to breastfeed me, and she didn't have money for milk and something to give me. So what she would do is she would give me coffee, because that was the only thing that she had available. And she would give me very diluted coffee and with sugar so that I would drink it. And it's just so amazing because nowadays we know that coffee is an appetite suppressant. It suppresses the appetite and so forth. But I mentioned this for many reasons, but one of them is because the knowledge that we have as people, the knowledge that we have as human beings, and I think there's something very special about us women. I mean, we're known to have that little bit, be more in tuned with that sixth sense that really, again, aligns us to who we really are, and to that collective consciousness, to that infinite consciousness and wisdom that the universe has provided before us with our ancestors and our abuelitas, our abuelitos, and everybody before us. So I think that maternal instinct that she had just allowed me to, she said she would give me that, and I would drink it and be satisfied and would fall asleep. And she would go on washing so she could get, so she could earn money so that next time she was able to give me a little bit of milk and so forth. And as I talk about this, I want people to know that the things that we talk about, and it was just, you're not going to learn anything new because you already know everything all of this information. You already have that maternal instinct. You already have that knowledge, that collective consciousness, that all of that wisdom and intelligence that is a part of the universe is already part of us. So I think that's very, very important for us to remember. And as I talk about, you were talking about my business and start again, not over. And it's all about really remembering who we really are and what we really know. And what is it that makes us happy? And what is it that we are meant to do? And as we grow, in the psychology world, we talk about children, and we talk about how we learned a lot of things as babies, and a lot of information, a lot of beliefs are imprinted on us at the very, very early age. And as I was growing up, the fact that that I was hungry, and the fact that I knew that my mom was there, and that she was able to provide for me, and that I would be okay at some point, I think that was extremely important for me, and has helped me through very difficult and challenging life transitions that I have gone through. So as I was growing up, my mom and my dad got together again, and they brought us here to the United States. And here in the United States, I was 6 years old at that time. And I didn't know the language. So I had to learn English, and I had to stay on track with the curriculum of the rest of the class. And it's just really incredible, the people that, our Creator puts in our paths to help us through some of those difficult moments in our lives. And I had this amazing teacher. She is just, and I say she passed a few years ago, but she continues. I truly believe that the people in our lives who have passed are still with us. And they are now, we may call them angels, guardian angels. We may, all sorts of different words that we have for them. But I think that they are spirits that are still with us, and continue to love us and help us and support us. And so I know that she's still here. But at that time, she would take recess, during the recess, the lunchtime, to help us learn English and be able to do all of this. And later on, as I grew up, I thought, oh my goodness, when in the world did the poor woman go to the bathroom? Because she was always, either she was, teaching the class or helping us out. And but it's just so incredible, the things. And I mentioned this because, a lot of times we think, oh, well, I'm just a mom. Well, I'm just a sister. Well, I'm just a teacher. Well, I'm just a friend. But you have so much influence and are able to help so many people through those roles in your life. And as a teacher, she was able to see in me things that I wasn't able to see myself yet. She is the one who helped me realize that I was able to do whatever I wanted to do, that I had the ability and the potential and the capability to do that. Before her, I could not remember that, and as I said, it's not that I learned it, but not that she taught it to me, but she helped me remember who I really was and what I was capable of doing. And again, for that, I am just so eternally grateful. So sometimes, we have certain conversations with people and we think, well, hopefully this will help. But you never know that seed, that nugget that you imprint in people that will change their lives forever. There's so many things that my mom told me that they continue to be guiding forces, in my life. And in her case, I remember this particular conversation so vividly in my head. Like I said, I was around 6 years old and I just loved her. And she was just so amazing and so loving and so caring and so helpful. And I said to her, I want to be a teacher just like you. And she looks at me and she says, Mija, you're not just going to be a teacher. You're going to be a doctor.
Wow.
You're going to be an attorney. You can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to just be one thing because everybody else tells you to do that. You can be whatever you want. And she is the first person who actually said, when she said to me, you can be a doctor if you want to be. And when she said that, and I still get goosebumps and remembering that conversation, because again, as I was saying earlier, it's not, we don't learn things. We remember things. We remember who we really are. And when she said that to me, it just went right through me, and it just filled me with such, I would say, maybe hope and vision. And it helped me remember that I was here for a lot more than I could even imagine. And so she was the first person who gave me who put that little seed in there. And ever since that one conversation when I was 6 years old in kindergarten, I remember so well, it completely changed my life. And I said, well, if she says that I can do it, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. That is exactly what I'm going to do. And I remember saying, someday, that's exactly what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a doctor. The lawyer, all these other things that she mentioned, it's like, they really didn't resonate with me. And I think that's so important that when we hear things, when we hear, this, your podcast, as I was hearing your previous episodes that you sent me, just so amazing. I just learned so much from them. You amazing women have helped me remember so much about myself and what I can do. So it's really amazing to remember those, to hear as we move forward throughout the day, and even just people that we speak to on, in the supermarket or wherever, they and we can really influence each other. And I'm a true believer that every relationship that we come across is eternal, because love is eternal, because knowledge is eternal, because
Absolutely.
Energy and vibration is eternal. And so there are people that I have met and I have known for a few minutes in a grocery store, and I can just remember the impact that they had on me. And I think that is just so, so important. So to know that and to see how amazing and how powerful we are, how powerful, then the responsibility that we have but more of, not just responsibility, but more than anything is the privilege, I think the honor to be able to be part of other people's lives. I think is just really, really amazing and important to remember. So going back to her, she just put that seed, and she followed me. I say followed me because she kept in touch with my family the whole time. She was there when, she said, when that conversation, I just strive to be and to do the best that I could all the time. And, when I was reading Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements and, his fourth agreement, always do your best. And that is something that I learned from her, to just do my best. And that's all I can do. And that's more than enough. That is more than enough. And so, I graduated, got honors from when I graduated from elementary school, when I graduated from junior high, when I graduated as salutatorian from high school. And as I said, I just knew that I wanted to be a doctor. And but I did know, I guess, at that time, what kind of doctors. There's so many different types of doctors. You had no idea. But I guess, when my mom always tells me, when I was little, well, and I do remember this as well, she would call me her little nurse. She would call me her little nurse because I was always, I would be helping and so forth. And I thought, well, maybe that's the type of field, maybe a medical physician, that maybe that's something that I want to do, because that's all I knew. Sometimes that's all you know. So I started college, and I was in that track of being a physician. And then I took my first psychology class. Mm-hmm. And it just spoke to me. It just resonated with me. it just, even though it was mainly, in undergraduate school, you get a lot of theory and so forth. But I just knew, I said, that is what I want to do. That is what I want to do. I want to be a psychologist. I want to get a doctorate in psychology, and I want to help people that way. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would say, my family especially, they would say, oh, no, you can't be a doctor. You can't do that. You can't, that would not be good for you. And I'm like, why? It's because you're too sensitive. They would say, because you're too sensitive. It says your clients are going to start crying and you're going to be crying with them. And, and I thought, well, first of all, I thought, well, what's wrong with that? Right.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times, we see people crying and we think that we have to fix something, that we have to help them, that we have to do something. And we don't realize the power and the amazing healing power of just being with somebody's pain. Just being there with somebody and just them knowing that you're there, and just how amazing and how healing and how loving and compassionate that is. And that is so important to for us to remember that as well. So, and then of course I was a little concerned because I thought, well, I want to do this because I want to help people because it feels right, but if I'm not going to be able to help people and I'm just going to be crying with them and I'm not going to be able to know what to do and how to help them, then what's the point? And so I remember, and again, this next conversation with my undergraduate, psychology professor, and I said to her, and I said, I know that this is what I want to do, and I feel that this is what I want to become, a psychologist. I said, but my family is telling me this, and I'm really worried about it, And she looks at me and she says, Leticia, that is exactly the type of people that we need. Mm-hmm. You are exactly the type of person that we want in this field. You are exactly the type of person that will be able to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Because she said, we can teach you different methods and techniques and so forth, and you will learn all of those things. And when you go to graduate school, you will learn how to be a psychologist, because we can teach people that, but we cannot teach people to care. Mm-hmm. We cannot teach people to care. Mm-hmm. We cannot teach people to be empathetic, to be sympathetic. We can't teach people to be compassionate, And I'm paraphrasing here because, I don't remember the exact words, but that's what I remember, and that's what I got from it. That we cannot teach people to do those things, but that is exactly what we need to be able to help other people. And we as women, we are known to be compassionate, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But it's important for us to know that, and to know how amazing and how wonderful and how healing and powerful that is, the ability and the wanting to be compassionate and to be there with someone and to be able to help them. And so that is just so incredibly important for us to remember that about ourselves. And in college, actually in high school, when I was in high school, I took 4 years of French. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, why don't you just take Spanish? Because, you'd be an easy A and that sort of a thing. But I said, no, I already know Spanish. I'm already know Spanish. And thanks to my mom and her always keeping me in bilingual classes, and she's the one who really taught me how to read and write. Even though she only went to school for 3, I think no more than 6 months of to school one year, like in first grade. But she taught herself how to read and write, and she's the one who taught me how to read and write in Spanish and so forth. And I said, no, I want to do more, I want to do more. And I think it's so important for us to remember that we can do more, that as much as we do, that there's always, we're always in the state of growing and expanding. And that is a wonderful thing. And when we hear that, when we listen to that, that's really important for us to listen to and go with and go with that. So, I always tell people when I do my trainings and so forth, I said, we're not human dones. We're human beings. We're not done yet. We're not human doers. We're human beings. We are always in the state of being, of becoming, of growing, of expanding. And so that's really a really wonderful thing. Anyway, so I took 4 years of French and so forth. And then when I was in college, I actually had a double major. I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology and in English. And I share this with you because for me, even though people saw a lot of potential in me, I didn't know about it. I didn't remember it until they told me that I was able to do it. And people can tell you all sorts of things, right? People can tell you, oh, you're a wonderful person. Oh, you're great and this and that. But until you actually prove it to yourself, until you do things that show you that you can do it, until you practice and you do things, then you start believing it. And I think that's something that's very, very important, because a lot of people suffer from low self-esteem and not having enough confidence in themselves. And especially a lot of women, we're taught to just be submissive or just not really think for ourselves and things like that. But it is really, really important to know that you can achieve what you can be, and just start with small things. Just start with small things. So it's really, really important to know that whatever we want to be or who we want to become, that it is possible, and that it is a process. I think that's really, really important.
And I think that's a good note to acknowledge some things here.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your life's journey, right, where someone could look and say, look at this little girl. What does she have going on for her? She's just, what we would say, a poor girl. Her mother's barely trying to survive.
Yes.
What can we expect from her?
Right.
But the reality is, and this is what I hear you saying, we can expect greatness from her.
Absolutely.
Because our dreams are really, the sky's the limit. And you have proven that in your life, in your life's trajectory, because you not only accomplished that, you're a very accomplished woman and doctor within your field. And I got to just tell you, Doc, that I was sitting here and listening to you and just amazed, because I know some things that other folks don't know. And to hear you sharing about your life, and of course, this is maybe not even halfway through your life, but to hear you share, and I know that just a year ago, or maybe a little bit more than a year ago, you couldn't even speak.
Right.
That is amazing. And I wonder if you would share with our audience today, because I think that part of starting over is so important, because life is life, and life's going to give us challenges in life. But what do you do with the challenges? How do you sobrevivir, right? But not only just to exist or to overcome, but how do you excel?
Yes.
How do you just, ride that wave of greatness and of expectation, of hope, right? Of that joy. How do we do that in the midst of some of the very difficult things that life will come at us with? And so, Doc, would you share with us, what happened a couple of years back for you?
Yes, thank you, Deborah. So 3 years ago, I had a horrible accident, an automobile accident, where someone ran a red light and hit me. It was a big SUV, and I was on a smaller car, and it just hit me straight on. And since the person was trying to run a red light, they were going really fast, and so they just hit me right on my side of the car. And it's just a horrible, horrible accident. They had to use the jaws of life to get me out. And it was extremely frightening. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I just saw the car coming to me, and I wasn't sure if I was going to live after that, because it just came straight at me. And then after that, the seat actually started moving forward because the car hit some of the levers in the bottom. So my seat actually started going forward, and it started crushing me towards my steering wheel. And so at the end, and I wasn't sure if it was going to stop because it just kept on going. And I was thinking, this is it. It's just going to crush me. It's going to crush me right into the steering wheel, and of course maybe the airbag will come up, and it'll just completely crush my head. So the fire department, they came, and like I said, they used the jaws of life and were able to get me out. But after that, not only was the accident extremely traumatic, but the aftermath was even worse than the accident itself, because I got a horrible head concussion where it was very, very hard for me to think straight. I couldn't see straight. I couldn't hear people very well. And when people were talking to me, I knew that people were talking to me, but I had no idea what they were saying. I couldn't comprehend what they were saying. And when I tried to speak, what I heard myself saying was something different than what I actually wanted to say. So I couldn't carry a conversation with people. And I like I said, I couldn't see straight. I couldn't understand things. So I would, if I saw something written, I could see the words, and I saw the letters. I saw the letters, but I had no idea what it was saying. So because I couldn't see very well and I couldn't comprehend it, I had to learn how to read and write again. And I started from one word, being able to read one word, and then one sentence, and then one paragraph, and then one page. I mean, it was from the very, very beginning. And that was very, very, to say the least, extremely traumatic, extremely painful, because everything that I knew and my coping skills before this were very cognitive. And many times I think, well, a lot of our coping skills are cognitive, are mental, where we dive into. What I used to do is, if I had a difficult time, or if I wanted to kind of escape a difficult time in my life or be able to survive it, what I would do would be, I would read a lot. I would read, and I would write, and I would dive into my work and so forth. But I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't do any of those things. And so I had to learn how can I go through this and be able to figure this out and deal with this. And deal with this whole situation and this pain and the fear I had. I was so frightened that I would never be able to have this conversation with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That I would never be able to have a conversation with other people, and that I would never be able to read or to write and to do my trainings and be able to do my work and just everything. And before the accident, I had become an international speaker. I had a book agent. I was writing a book proposal. I was doing trainings and keynote speeches and workshops all over. And I was at the top of my game, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I couldn't even move. all of a sudden I couldn't talk to people, and I couldn't see, and I couldn't hear, and I couldn't understand, and it was extremely, extremely painful and frightening, to say the least. And you can hear it in my voice just thinking about it, just how it takes me back to that. And I remember just being in bed and not being able to get up and go to the bathroom, and not be able to get up and go and get a drink of water. And of course, I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't see, because the light was so strong, and any light. And so my shutters had to be closed, because even the light outside, it was just, it would make my headaches just so much worse. And in that situation, I kept thinking, what can I do? And what can I do right now? And everything that I had learned, and everything that I was talking about and teaching about starting again, not over, I implemented it on myself. I used it. And I said, okay, this is where I am right now. And so what can I do now? How can I do it? And just one step at a time. And it was very difficult when you're in the middle of an experience like that, or any traumatic experience. We start doubting ourselves. We forget who we really are and the abilities that we have. And it's common, and it's normal. And I think that's something that I want people to know, that it's okay. But I had to remind myself that it was okay. I had to remind myself that I was going to be okay, and that there are angels, and that, that the Creator was not going to leave me like that. Mm-hmm. I know that with that experience, I have grown so much. I have learned so much, and to believe in myself, to remember myself, to remember that, okay, just because I can't read doesn't mean that I'm dumb. It doesn't mean that I won't be able to do it later on. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay. What can I do right now? What can I do right now? And I think with starting again, when you start again and not over, is remembering that you were in a certain situation. Then what can I learn from that? Yes. What can I learn from that? And then how can I use that and move forward? Mm-hmm. And one of the main things is believing in the Creator, and believing in this higher power, and knowing that we are not alone in this. And as I laid in bed in the darkness and not being able to move, I prayed, and I prayed, and I tried to think as positively as I could, and mm-hmm. and try to remember who I was, and awaken that in me again. So that it's been an extremely difficult, painful, treacherous journey, but it's been a journey of healing. And one of the things is that as we are in the most painful of situations, knowing that is temporary, mm-hmm. in some way, shape, or form, that it is temporary, and that we do have the help, the help from our Creator, from God, from the spirits, from whatever we'd like to call it, that it's there, and it's helping us through the most difficult of our times, that we are not alone in this. Mm-hmm. And it's important to appreciate the people around us also. Appreciation is very important. It's important to appreciate anything and everything that we can. Appreciate the family around us, our friends, our doctors, all the people that are trying to help us. As for me, I was also extremely blessed and grateful to have a phenomenal boyfriend, my angel on earth, for almost 3.5 years now, who has left me and taken such great care of me. And also, I was married for 21 years, and was married to just an amazing, amazing man. He was sick right after we met, And so we always knew we didn't have a lot of time. So we made the best of it and just had an amazing relationship. And he passed actually this month also. It's going to be 11 years since the day he passed. Mm-hmm. But I always knew that that he is with me. And I know that he is with me now, that he's always in these pláticas and in my trainings and in every situation. And as I was laying there in bed, just thinking, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? I reminded myself, and I had to remind myself that, that he was there, that my dad, who also passed 11 years ago, that he was there, that my abuelitas, my abuelitos, all these people were there, and they were helping me, mm-hmm. and that they were giving me the strength to go on. And so that's what I did. And I just one step at a time, just all my treatments and my therapies. And I continue to get treatments for the pain treatments. I get injections all over my head, mm-hmm. and the back of my neck and my shoulders and my back for the migraines. Mm-hmm. And actually, at the beginning of March, I finished reading. I was able to complete a full book. Mm-hmm. I was able to read a book for the first time in over 3 years. Oh, I was wonderful. Able to read a book, and it was a small book, but nevertheless, it was a book. Yes. And I read the Magic Path of Intuition. Mm-hmm. The Magic Path of Intuition by Florence Shin. And again, it just called to me when I went to the bookstore, and I said, this is a book I'm meant to read. And I think that just reminded me of that intuition, that knowledge, that belief that we can do so much more than we think we can, especially in the difficult times. Yeah, so absolutely. That's just been, and now being able to be here with you, you just can't even imagine, and there are no words to express how amazingly blessed and grateful I am for the opportunity to share my story, and also for the ability that I'm able to do this. Yes. So as you can see, sometimes I forget, and I'm glad that this is pre-recorded, that we're recording this, mm-hmm. and because I still have difficulties at times remembering certain words or putting my thoughts together and so forth. But I have come a long way, and absolutely, yeah. And I know that I know in my heart and in my soul, in my spirit, that not only will I be able to get out of this, that I will survive, as Maestra Deborah was talking about earlier. Not only survive, but that I am going to thrive. Yes. And that this experience has actually made me a better person, mm-hmm. has made me a better, and maybe not yet, but a better speaker and a better and a better writer and so forth. Yes. And because I can now speak to things that I could not speak to before. Yes. Mm-hmm. from that experience. And I think that's very, very important to remember that. When I was growing up, I grew up in a domestic violence situation. My dad was an alcoholic, and he would beat my mom, and then he would beat us. But my faith, my knowing that God was always there, and that I knew that things were going to be better. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how, but that things were going to be better, and that I was going to be able to survive and be in a much better situation. And so as going through this situation here, I tried, and I say I tried because there were times when it was very, very difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult to remember that we are not alone, that we do have help, that things are transitional, and that they can be better, and that they will be better in some way, shape, or form. And so that is what I am trying to convey to people, mm-hmm. and in any traumatic experience, in any life transition, whether even positive or negative, that we've learned a lot in the difficulties in our lives, and that all of that pain is not for nothing, that we didn't just have it, but that it is something that will not only help us, but strengthen us and help us through and propel us really, to even a much better space.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that that's such an important part for us to acknowledge, right?
Yes.
Because it is in that darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is in that time of reflection where you can't see a little bit of light, but things are happening inside. And we know that it's in that darkness. All of a sudden, we see that little seed start popping up out of the ground. That's going to birth a beautiful flower, but it happens in those difficult, dark times.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And if you don't know the darkness, then how do you know the light?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Then how do you know? If you don't know the difficulties, how do you know when there are the beauty? When you don't see the ugly, the ugliness, then you can't see the beauty.
Yes.
And in every moment in our lives, we have options on how we're going to perceive, how we're going to look at it. If we're going to see it as a positive thing, we'll learn from it and allow it to help us, or are we going to see it as a punishment or as a negative thing, as a curse? And when we do have that perception, then we give that darkness the power to hurt us even more.
Right.
And so now I've had lots of issues with surgeries and so forth. And I had issues with my salivary glands because of the accident. And I actually, at times, I can't chew. So now when I eat and I am able to eat without pain, everything just tastes so much better.
What a blessing.
Everything is just such a blessing. And I don't take it for granted. I do not take it for granted. And like I said, my husband passed 11 years ago, and I never took him for granted. And I think a lot of people say, well, you guys had 21 years of honeymoon. You guys were like always in your honeymoon, because we knew how painful things were. We knew how difficult life was. And we learned not to sweat the small stuff, and really, really appreciate each other and appreciate the moment that we had with each other. My experience with him has taught me to do that. And that has helped me do the same with this difficult situation. Help me appreciate it, actually, and thank it for what it has taught me, for what it has taught me. And it's a process to get to this point, It's not, with the coronavirus, I actually lost 8 people in my life, 8 family members, including my mom, who passed a year and less than a year and a half ago. And those moments that when we are undergoing these difficult losses and these difficult times, these difficult traumas, for us to remember that it's just temporary, and we are able to change our perception, to decide, to make the choice of how we're going to see it and use it to our advantage, and to help us move forward and be the people that we want to be, and be happy. That, happiness is a choice. Happiness is a choice. And I make that choice every moment. They say we have most people have around 60,000 thoughts per day, the average person. So between every thought, we can choose which way we take those thoughts, towards the positive to help me and help me feel better and help me improve, or see that as a negative, chase the negative ones and help me feel worse and be stuck. That's a choice that we can make every moment of our lives.
Oh, thank you. So powerful, Dr. Ximénez. Wow, what a unbelievable, incredible, miraculous journey that you've had to experience. There's so many lessons that would have been learned from that whole experience on so many levels. As we come to the end of our podcast, and like always, we wish we just had more and more and more time. Hopefully, we'll continue this conversation again at another time, in person. If we'd be so blessed to do that. But as we come to the end here, I'm thinking, and I'm relating to a lot of things that you've shared, having had a chapter of my life of being incapacitated and laying there in total surrender, really questioning myself. Who are you? And now you can't do the things that you're known for. You can't dance anymore. You can't massage anymore. You can't have your sessions with your mujeres. Can't do your retiros anymore. Like, okay, I'm not my role. No, now I'm not, but I am somebody, and it really humbles you. I know it just really humbles you in the deepest levels in every realm, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Yes. I'm wondering if you would, out of all this experience, I would imagine the gift of being able to forgive. I know a lot of our healing has to do with forgiveness, things that have happened to us that, we can't find reason or rhyme to, but we still have to hold on to our faith radically and still believe in order to start again and not over. What are some of the consejos that you can think of that you can leave for our next generation and all those that are listening that may be at that point where they think there's nothing left? How do I start again? What are some consejos that you can leave us all to be able to navigate those times when our candle is just barely flickering and we need to hang on and go forward? If you could share some of those with us before we close out, I know there are going to be nuggets of gold, priceless nuggets of gold, hard-earned wisdom that you've learned. If you'd be so gracious to share some of that medicina with us.
Thank you. I would love to. And thank you for sharing your experience as well. As you were talking about your experience, it just reminded me when after my husband passed and when I finally it hit me and I realized that he was gone, I remember saying and talking to him and saying, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? And when I was in bed and not being able to move, and I thought, what am I going to do now? And it's when, in those most difficult times in our lives, when we come across that question, what am I going to do now? It's so important to listen to the answer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's in those times that when you said you talked about surrender, mm-hmm. we have to surrender who we think we are in those moments. Surrender our limiting beliefs, the idea of what is going on and the pain and just giving in to all of that. And another word for that is trust. Because when you surrender, you trust. You trust the universe, you trust God, you trust the Creator, you trust yourself. And you say, what am I going to do now? What can I do now? And when I teach my workshops and so forth, I always talk about attention, intention, and action. Attention, intention, and action. And when we are in that moment when we say, what am I going to do now? Is important to pay attention to our intuition, mm-hmm. to our intuition, to that God within us, to that collective wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, to that infinite, pure, positive energy and love that lives within us. And make the intention to listen to it and see where it wants us to go, what it wants us to do. Make the intention to say, okay, I'm going to follow it. I'm going to follow it. Mm-hmm. And then, be inspired by that, by that intention, and be inspired into the next step, be inspired into the action, into what we can do next. And I hope that from all of this, people and all these amazing women that will be hearing this, I hope that they all remember that our intuition is all that amazing love and wisdom within us. And it's always there if we tap into it. Mm-hmm. And the only reason to do that is really, again, remembering who we really are and how amazingly loved and beautiful and unique we all are. Mm. And one of the things, and I'll leave you with this, and people can go onto my website and so forth and get more information out of it. But I always tell people, when you remember yourself, your true authentic self, who you really are, that infinite wisdom and infinite pure positive divine energy that we are, when you remember yourself, you are awakened. Mm. You are awakened. Mm-hmm. When you accept and embrace yourself, that true self of who you really are, you are empowered. Mm-hmm. And when you allow yourself to be your true authentic self, that true inner wisdom, that true collective consciousness, pure positive divine energy, God within you, when you are yourself, you are invincible. Mm. You are invincible, unstoppable, unlimited, infinite. You are invincible. So I tell people, remember that you are invincible, be invincible, and go out and remind others that they are invincible too.
Wow.
Wow.
Gracias, doctor. Yeah. Thank you.
These are the words from Doctora Leticia Ximénez. Mm-hmm. And I know that if you've been listening, these words have touched you. Don't start over. We can never undo the past.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But what we can do is start again. Mm-hmm. And you might find yourself today in that darkness. You might find yourself, as the doctor said, now what? Now what? Because there doesn't seem to be any answers coming your way. It doesn't seem, there doesn't seem to be any hope or any light. There doesn't seem. But the good thing about seeming is that we don't base our reality on seeming, right?
Exactly.
We base our reality on faith in knowing what is real. And what is real is that the sun comes up every day, whether we see it or not. Mm-hmm. And that is a commitment towards humanity. And the commitment, that creator, that great mystery, that God, whatever that higher power is for you, will always be there. And it's up to us to connect to that. And this is the lessons from Dr. Ximénez. Mm-hmm. Her life is a testament to the words that she shared. It's just not an intellectual exchange. It's a reality of her life. Mm-hmm. She walks her talk. Mm-hmm. And Doc, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for coming and joining us today. It is truly a historical time. I'm so glad to be with you on this podcast where, you're doing something a year ago you could not do. So this is a miracle in live time, right?
Yes.
And just thanking you for really spending this time with us and our listeners. And for you out there, I know, just like I said at the beginning, you are not disappointed because there was those words that you needed to hear today, right here, right now, that you heard. And so we encourage you to continue to go forward, but to go forward with hope, with love, with strength. Comadre, these podcasts are always so amazing, but they finish so soon.
I know.
And so, yeah.
But we're just so blessed to be able to have these pláticas and just share this medicina out throughout the world. It's a priceless gift. It's a priceless gift. And all of the guests that we've had have really earned their medicine, have really had to endure a lot of challenging things. And just to see them be able to rise above and continue to do creators' work with puro corazón, all that compassion, all that love, all that support. How blessed we are. How blessed we all are. So thank you, Doctor. Thank you. I'm eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. And we leave this amazing talk with our knowing of who we really are. And I really, again, cannot express how amazingly blessed and grateful I am to be able to share this with all of you. And just thank you. Thank you. I love you all. I really, really do. I send my love and gratitude to each and every one of you that are listening now and that will listen in the future.
Yes. So with that, we need to sign off. And we want to thank you again. Thank you for joining us. And this is our once a month podcast sponsored by the National Comadres Network. And we encourage you to like us, to share us. If this message, brought any hope for you, share it with your comadres, share it with your friends, your nieces, your mamas, your grandmas, because this is a message that definitely brings hope. So with that, for this podcast, this is Deborah Camarillo signing off from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Maestra Susana Armijo. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day.
Thank you all. Thank you all from Southern California.
Thank you, Dr. Ximénez. Adelante con Dios.
Yes.
And see.
So with that, bendiciones till our next podcast.
Bendiciones.
Muchas bendiciones.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.